Why life insurance agents are broke. Okay. If you are a life insurance agent right now and you feel like you're constantly chasing people who used to be interested, if you're sitting on hundreds, maybe thousands of old leads that never booked, and if you've ever said, my leads are trash or nobody answers anymore, this video is for you. Because the problem is not your leads, it's not the market, and it's definitely not that people don't want life insurance. The real problem is what happens after the lead comes in. So, what agents are actually experiencing. Let me describe the pattern that I see over and over. You buy leads, one, you call them the same day, then maybe you text once or twice, you leave a voicemail, and then you follow up for a few days, right? And then life happens, you get busy writing apps, you're on the phone with underwriting, you are handling chargebacks, you're dealing with family life, just in general. You go on as business as usual. And then what happens to those leads? They inevitably go cold. And you're already on a whole new batch, which you should be. If you're and doing any sort of type of business, you need to keep a constant new flow of leads. But not because they weren't interested per se, but because nobody stayed on them long enough. You didn't get those 7 touches in. Most agents don't fail because they're bad closers. They fail because the follow-up is inconsistent, emotional, and manual. In manual, follow-up always loses. Just in general, you have to do it. You either have to have an automated system or you just have to be on it constantly. You have to really be grinding for it. There's really no difference between you and the high closers in your agency. The high closers, they're just willing to follow up all the time, and they're willing to call people, and they're willing to sit down. The only difference between you and them is they're sitting with 20 people and you are only sitting with 2 people every day. And while they have 20 appointments that day, the same day you have 2. That's the only difference between them and you. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Humans are terrible at repetitive systems. Surprise. You might follow up hard for a week, then you might slow down and then stop, But buyers don't make decisions on your timeline, okay? They make them on theirs. So most life insurance sales don't happen on the first call or even the second or even the 5th. They happen after weeks and months of exposure. The agent who wins isn't gonna be the best talker. It's the one who stays present without being annoying. And that requires timing, sequencing, consistency, 0 emotion, which is why automation beats hiring every single time. And we have all seen this whenever we got on the phone and cold called somebody, and they've always said, y'all call me 50 times, they call me 60 times, or they already have a policy in place and they just got a new policy. But because you were nice, because you had great customer service, because you knew you were talking about, they ultimately opened up a policy with you and replaced their old policy or whatever. But even if they might have just gotten that insurance, but they did it with you because you followed up, you were consistent, you were the one that were being nice to them, and they trusted you the most. And so we have all witnessed this. We have all witnessed this personally, if you're actually in the game. So, firstly, if you think your leads are bad, here's actually what's happening, okay? You're not the only one. You're judging lead quality too early, more often than not. This is life. You gotta think someone clicking on the form at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday is not ready to talk, okay? That doesn't mean that they're worthless. So it just means that they need proper timing, proper wording, proper spacing, but most agents burn leads by overcalling early and then disappearing completely. That's not a lead problem, that's a system problem. So the basics of this, I know that because we get lost in the cold call trenches, Sometimes we can forget that you're talking to another human being online. They got family, they got dogs, they got practices, they got taking kids back and forth to school. Maybe they're retired, maybe they're grandparents, maybe they're taking care of their grandkids, whatever. They constantly going in and out of doctor's appointments. You were talking to a real life human being. Just because they can't pick up that phone on a random 12 o'clock on Wednesday, it doesn't mean that they don't want to talk to you a week later. Doesn't mean your opportunity can't come up 2 days from now. You have to understand that the follow-up, the money is in the follow-up. And just because there was no answer or just because they didn't have any time does not mean that they're not interested. And that's not an excuse to lose hope. But here's how good agents revive dead leads without buying more. They don't just check in, they don't beg, and they don't spam. Okay? They use simple, natural, low-pressure touch points over time, short messages with clear intent that don't signal any desperation, because if we all seen this, for all the people who are really in the trenches, if they can sniff desperations out of you, they're completely clocked out. It's over. The sale you might as well clock it as a no. The goal is not to sell. The goal is to restart the conversation, is to get to the next touch, reset the next appointment, continually reschedule the appointment until you can finally write them an app. So when done correctly, people reply weeks later saying things, sorry, just seeing this, now is actually a good time. I forgot I even filled that out. That's not magic, that's paging. That's patience, but it's automated. So if you've tried automation before and it didn't work out, more than likely, here's why. Most automation is built by people who don't sell. So they don't actually know what's going on. They don't know what it feels like to be in the cold call trenches. They don't know what it feels like to be cursed out by 50 people in a row and finally booking that one appointment that turns into your one app. They write robotic messages, they blast too fast, or they sound too spammy. Good automation doesn't feel automated. It feels reliable, okay? Bad automation tries to replace your work. Good automation supports the agent. It supports you, it shouldn't replace you, okay? That distinction matters. And if you don't think it does, go ahead and move on to the next video. This video is not for you. Let's do simple math. Say you have 500 old leads sitting in the CRM that you bought 2 weeks ago, right? If only 2% of those rebook, right? That's 10 appointments. If you close 3 of those and your average commission is $800, 800 times 3, that's $2,400, $2,400 from leads you already paid for. That wasn't a new lead budget. That wasn't no new ad spend, and you didn't have to go make 50 TikTok videos for those. That was your old leads sitting in an old CRM collecting dust somewhere in Google Sheet. Most agents chase new leads instead of attracting value from old ones. That's backwards, okay? Now, Chloe exists for one reason, and it's to make sure that no lead dies because you got busy. So it handles consistent follow-up, timing logic, messaging sequencing. You don't manage it, you don't babysit it, you don't feel guilty about forgetting leads, and here's the deal. If appointments don't get booked, you don't pay. Not software fees, not subscriptions, outcomes only. We about results. And if you don't get them, you don't pay for them. I don't understand. I don't understand anybody else's. Why would you pay for? It doesn't make sense. So if you are a life insurance agent dealing with dead leads, low appointments, or follow-up burnout, DM me appointments. That's it. No links. Just DM me. Actually, I will leave a link in the description below. But DM me and we'll see if Chloe makes sense for you.